Welcome to the Ask Weldon Show, episode 144. Today we're going to talk about moving from addiction to focus and also trying to figure out if you are addicted to a video game versus actually just training it a lot. The quickest or best mindfulness session if you don't want to do repeated 10-minute sessions, and esports psychology careers. You have your BA in psychology or you're looking to get a degree in psychology. Where do you go next? Welcome to episode 144 of the Ask Weldon Show. I am Weldon, and this is the show where you ask me questions and I answer them. My background is in sport and exercise psychology, coaching, English teaching, BA in mathematics, piano. I think I played trumpet for 12 years in there, and I swam for like 20 or so. Basically, you can ask me about those things. Ice cream connoisseur. I like to drink Finnish coffee, and as of yesterday, Vietnamese coffee as well. What else can you ask me about? Pretty much anything. Fantasy writers. I'm well versed in my fantasy fiction. Yeah, that's about it. And you can ask by using the hashtag AskWeldon on Twitter. And you can also use the Anchor app, which I will show you instructions for in a minute. When you watch the first question, you'll see it pop up because it's from Anchor. It will show you how to ask an audio question that can get your voice onto the show, which I prefer because it gives a nice break in the monotony. When people are listening to a 30-minute show, it's just nicer to listen to somebody else ask the question instead of myself, since I'm doing the rest of the talking. So please use the Anchor app if you can at all. Most of the questions of the show are related to esport high performance or esport performance, and that is because I am a professional esport coach. It's how I have been making my money for the last few years, and although I am part of a tech company now, it is still my main kind of passion in the public eye. So, why don't we jump into the first question of the show? It's a real doozy, and I think that we might have to spend a few minutes on it. And yes, I said doozy, in case you were wondering. Here we go.
Hey Weldon, I am a 17-year-old high school student and I am addicted to League of Legends. I play at least 4 to 6 hours a day and maybe up to 12 on the weekends. It's not like I don't have friends and family. I have pretty good relationships with them. It's not like I'm taking bad care of my health. I am routinely going to the gym 4 times a week. But when I have free time after school, I want to play League of Legends. My issue is that League has become such a big part of my life that it's consuming other parts of my life. It's like I'm finding less happiness overall on every aspect of my life when I'm not playing League. And the worst part is that I'm not even that good at League. I'm not finding success in League at the moment, and this makes me even more depressed. I want to focus on finding overall happiness in my life offline and again, while simultaneously being focused and find success in League as well. Thanks.
Okay. What a question that is. How many of you guys can relate to that question, guys or girls? Please raise your hands. I think that the number of people who raise their hands will not be zero. And I want to highlight a couple important things that I noticed from Visivai's question. The first one is I'm becoming so consumed. I'm becoming so addicted, or I'm playing so much League or whatever. I'm so into it that it's consuming other parts of my life, and I'm struggling to find happiness in them. That was a very important aspect of what he said. And the other one was when he talked about, he's doing other things. He's going through the motions. He's apparently keeping up his family and friend relationships. He's apparently going to the gym. I would assume going to school if he's school-aged. And especially if he's only playing 4 to 6 hours on the weekday, so then that means he must be going to school, because otherwise he'd be playing 12 every day. Or maybe he's working. So this is This is a really, really, really important question. And the first question is, his claim is, I am addicted to League of Legends. Okay, he's aware of this himself, and I think that the reason he's aware of it is because it is consuming happiness in other areas of his life. He's with somebody that he used to love being with, or he's with somebody or he's doing something that he loves, and the emotional content of that moment, the color of that experience is less. The saturation is less. The emotional content is missing, and he just wants to play League instead of doing what he's doing. So he might be doing it, but it's like a husk in a way. And then when he gets to League, it's like full color in terms of the emotional content. Even if it's not happiness, it's like, even if it's unhappiness, right? Even if the end's really disgusted and unhappy, it's like, you know, it's like in full color, in full spectrum, kind of like fully powerful on his psyche, and the other parts are just him wishing to be back to that place. So I think if you are addicted to League of Legends, it's not like being addicted to a drug. You can't just you can't actually just look at the withdrawal symptoms, you know, take it away for a day, look at the withdrawal symptoms and say like, oh, he's shivering and all these things like chemical dependencies. But I think you can experience withdrawal from it, so you could like test yourself that way. And I think also that you can notice addiction by its tangible effect on consuming other parts of your life and eliminating them, your ability to not be full in them. So I think that, but I think this is a really tough question, because some people say that they are not addicted. They say that they are training because they have a dream, right? They want to go pro. And so this is going to be in the future, and certainly right now as well, a very tough line to walk, because there are very few athletes that make it to a global level in, for example, the Olympics, that you couldn't turn around and say to them that they were addicted to their sport. There's very few that do make it that you couldn't do that to. And so if they didn't make it to the pro level, if they fell short in some way, as many do, I think society is not very quick to condemn them as to being addicted to sport, because we herald being addicted to sport, essentially, to like the training and the addiction to the pain and the addiction to the training and the focus and the desire to kind of do that all in. We don't mind it so much. We think that it's a wonderful thing, and if you fall short, well, you tried to get there. Even if it destroys your friendships and your relationships and your grades along the way, we're like, yeah, but he was all-American swimmer, you know, he was really putting himself into that career. And we look at it through that lens, right? And the person may be consumed as much as, probably not as much as a video game, because video games are all consuming in terms of their sensory experiences. But yeah, I think in the future this is going to be a very, very tough question, because the simple aspect of it takes a bit of addictive intensity and perfectionism to hit the level of mastery needed to become a professional player, or to become I don't want to say professional player, to be good enough to be an elite player and then have a chance to go pro. So with that aside, I want to talk about the situation where you have somebody here like Visify. Thank you again for the question, but he's decided that he's addicted and he knows it, and he wants to have he wants to find happiness in his life, and he doesn't want League to consume it, and at the same time he wants to focus on League and get better. So Visify and others, you have to not let League of Legends color your life. Waiting to play or thinking about playing is the death knell of your living experience, okay? If you're dreaming about League of Legends, for example, if you're thinking about it when you're not playing it, and if you're waiting apprehensively, emotionally, to get to the point where you can play it, you must find a way back to the present experience of your life. You have to find a way out of that waiting and that apprehension and the thinking and the theory crafting, back to what you are doing right now, whether it's sitting in class, having a conversation with somebody, eating a meal, or whatever it is. Like, you are living life in black and white, and League is color. You need to take off those like glasses and have color in other areas of your life. Okay, so easy to say, hard to do. First thing I would do outside of League is I would focus on wrenching your mind away from thoughts of League. Anytime you find yourself thinking or theory crafting about League, stop. Don't prepare for your session. Don't study League of Legends. Don't watch streamers. Don't consume content as a way of getting halfway there because you're in school and you can't play, so you watch it on Twitch because you are at work and you can't play, so you watch it on Twitch in apprehension of you being there. Instead, focus on your act. Focus on what you're doing. Focus on the school. Focus on the work. Focus on the people around you. Draw something. Fold paper. Whatever it is, if you're bored with class, do not anticipate League of Legends. Like, school your mind. And by school your mind, I don't mean like to teach it. I mean to discipline it. School your mind and your thoughts, and you will find yourself 1 second you'll pull your mind away, 3 seconds later it'll be back. So you got to pull it away again. 5 seconds later it'll be back, and then you'll be sitting there and you notice, oh, for the last 30 seconds I've been thinking about this one Annie combo. Shoot, and then pull it back. Right? It's not a bad thing. Don't think of it as a failure every single time your mind runs back to League of Legends. Think of it as an opportunity to pull your mind away again. If you're in the Mac program, you may have noticed the kind of advice here. It may sound very familiar to you. You may have heard it before. But basically, it's the mindfulness ideal of being aware of where your thoughts are and pulling them back to the present moment. Okay, the other thing that you should do in League of Legends itself is most people are chasing a certain experience. They have an ideal experience like that 42-0-0 Ezreal game. 0 deaths, 0 assists, 42 kills, stomping. You can literally 1v5 the enemy team. You know, they all come at you and you kill them all and then take their nexus in front of their face. And they're all dead on the fountain crying. And you're like, I am the king of League of Legends and this feels so good. And you want that control and you want that veracity. And that's what people are chasing. And when they lose a game, they're like, I don't want to end on that night. I don't want to end on that note. I want to play one more and get to that experience. I want to try to chase that game, that perfect scenario, that thing, that feeling of control. Okay? So you have to not make your playing contingent on seeking that experience. And what I mean by that is you should decide before you play that you're only going to play 2 games or 3 games, and you should quit when you're done. So you should play the 2 games, you should play the 3 games, and you should be done. And if you going out on a loss and it feels really bad and you played horrible and your team flamed you and you don't want to end right there, you should end anyway. You should be done playing. You should go play 2 games and then go and do something else. And that discipline will teach your mind the value of League of Legends truly to you. And if you're like, but I can't sleep and I can't rest and I'm just replaying that last game I had in my head over and over again and all the mistakes and I just want to erase it. I want to get it out of my head and I don't want to think about what that idiot said to me in that game, and like it's just replaying in my head and my retort was so bad and I should have said something, and like I just can't believe that I died there and that ruined everything, and then like it was totally under control again, and then I freaking like missed that skill shot at Baron, and then and you're thinking you're replaying all this. You have to get out of that space. You have to think about something you're grateful for in your life. Think about your family. Think about something else that's fun. Go to the gym and focus on the contraction of the muscles. You have to wrench your mind away from the emotional dependence of that feeling, and also the wanting desire and reminiscing about the lack of that feeling or the frustrations. And the way that you do that is by like I said, you discipline yourself to quit. So you have 2 games and done. Okay? And that forces you to be like, to have full control of your volition of the game, and to say, this is me and this is what I'm going to do. And the second thing is that that you can relax your mind yourself without the need for League to do it for you in terms of your frustration. You don't need to satiate your emotions through getting that perfect game. You can quit on a frustrating game, and you can deal with the frustrations of that game internally and move past them without needing to replace them with another play, with like that clicking the play button. Okay? Those are the 2 things that you really, really have to get a handle on to kind of kick this League addiction. The first is you have to find a way to get your mind into the present and experience life in full color in all other areas, and stop anticipating playing League and stop thinking about League. And then the second thing is put a boundary on your League play before you start. And I do recommend 2 or 3 games. I don't recommend letting yourself go beyond that until you have full control over your expectations here. And then when you end and you find yourself in that frustrating state, to cope with it in a personal, human way with your own emotions, rationalizing them, working on them, and justifying them, and finding ways of thinking of things that you're grateful for, and breathing through the frustration and things like that, and not relying on the game to solve it for you with by chasing that kind of feeling of power and control that will then erase the kind of the frustration in that level beforehand. That is my recommendation to you, Visify. And I hope that is helpful for other people as well. And of course, you may have noticed a ton of stuff in this answer that has to do with the Mac program. So I'm going to talk about that now, not mention it again later, which is that this is literally what this program is meant to train. And these skills do not just help with addiction. They help also with focusing during training. They help make these decisions easier. The skills being, of course, mindfulness, acceptance, commitment. Mindfulness being the one where you are aware and you are wrenching your mind away from the thing that it is randomly focusing on in order to live in the present, in order to think and experience in the present and have that full color kind of view of what's going on right now. And acceptance and commitment being the kind of behavioral component of that. If you are addicted, acceptance and commitment is the protocol therapy is the protocol that was used with alcohol addiction, because it's not like heroin. Okay, heroin addiction is a very kind of different thing than, for example, alcohol addiction, which is more of this. It's kind of similar to, I would say, esport or League of Legends addiction, where you have this very strong psychological component that isn't necessarily chemical, but about the experience of the chemical for the person. Because I don't think that anybody would say that alcohol is addicting in the way that heroin and tobacco is, or nicotine, I would say. But nevertheless, we have this societal addiction that you can find in people, and it's treatable through a different mechanism than, for example, heroin, where you should be using like a replacement-dependent chemical and then withdrawing from that. Because if you just, it's really hard to go cold turkey on a substance that literally modifies your brain, right? The structures of your brain, like heroin does. But for alcohol, it's about your mindset and your thoughts and thinking and your behavior and your discipline. So that's why acceptance commitment therapy is so used in that, or was so used in that space. I'm not really sure if it's used now or not. But anyway, that's where this ACT was founded, and that's where the AC part of MAC is from. Okay, and by the way, you can check out the Mac program on my website. It is a paid program, but obviously if you cannot scrounge together 25 euros and you have the same problem that Visify has, just message me on Twitter and we'll see what we can do. And the 100% guarantee thingy there, right over here, that just means that if it's not working for you, I'll just give you your money back. Or if you're not enjoying it, or if you're like, I could do without this, or I want that $25 back so I can buy a hat with it. It's not a guarantee that it's going to work. Okay, it's not like a diet pill. 100% guarantee you will lose 5 pounds over 10 days. It's if you are like, I'm going to pass on this, I'll just message me and I'll refund your money. The point of collecting the money is not so that I have the money and I'm going to try to keep it. The point is to allow you this kind of consumptive motivation that goes along with purchasing, and also to support my brand and my streaming. Okay, next question. Thank you for that amazing intro, Visify HD, and I hope that it was useful for everybody. Next question is from Chad Markle on Twitter, and he asks, what is the quickest or best form of mindfulness to pull yourself away from your thoughts and into the present? Having to do multiple 10-minute sessions can be difficult. Okay, simple answer. There is no quicker or best form of mindfulness. There is just mindfulness, and you'd either do a lot of it or you do a little of it. And 1 bit of it is better than none of it, and 7 bits of it is slightly better than 1 bit of it. But the jump between none of it and 1 bit of mindfulness, so like 3 minutes, 2 minutes of mindfulness while you're walking, 7 seconds of mindfulness while you're in the sauna, 30 seconds of mindfulness while you're sitting in front of the computer, whatever it is, the jump between nothing and that 15 seconds, and the jump between 1 minute and 5 minutes are totally fundamentally different. Like the jump from 0 to 1 is huge, is fundamental to the brain in a way that will transform your life. And the jump from 1 to 5 minutes is like a minor upgrade, okay? So the quickest and best form of mindfulness is the mindfulness that you do all the time. It's like you're walking around the world and there's pull-up bars everywhere, and you just stop every few hours to do a pull-up, or every like 20 minutes to do a pull-up. That would be the ideal way to think of mindfulness. You want to try to incorporate it into your school, into your relationships, into sitting at your desk, into walking down the street. Yesterday, I was walking down the street. No, this was 2 days ago. Sorry. 2 days ago, I was walking down the street, and I started focusing on the soles of my feet as they were treading on the ground, and I pulled my mind out of its like foggy thinking blank space that I was focusing on something else, and I just fully experienced the world, and I like opened my eyes and I unfocused a little bit, and I just like saw everything there was to see, and I listened and I walked and I felt, you know, the movement of the muscles in my legs and kind of like the touching of the clothes on my body as I was sliding along, and I could feel the weight, you know, on my feet, like starting at the back and transitioning forward, and my little muscles firing to like micro adjust my balance kind of as I was treading. And I don't think I made it more than a couple blocks. I think that maybe by the time I hit a couple blocks, like I got lost in thought again and I was out of it. But that kind of thing where you're just going along and you pull yourself into mindfulness, or for example, you're getting up from a chair and all of a sudden you're like, okay, and you focus completely on your body and you focus on the weight and the sensations and the touch and the texture and the smell of the room and everything, like pulling yourself into those moments and dismissing all like extraneous thoughts that are travailing you away from whatever it is you're doing. That is what you should be. Don't stretch. Don't stretch on the show or else you'll end up yawning. That is what you should be doing, Chad. And I hope that is helpful, and good luck with that. Okay, third question, because we spent so much time on the first one, I want to jump into that one. But before I do, I want to let you know I am going to the gym after this. If you want to follow along on Snapchat, you can send me questions. I do try to answer them. You might have noticed if you sent me a question on Snapchat, I have like a bunch of unreads here. Let me see. Currently at 24. I don't know if you can see these notifications, but I have a lot of Snapchat notifications. Yeah, it's a little unfocused. Sorry. So yeah, I'm certainly not able to answer every single question that I get, because there's tons every single day, but I do strive to at least put out a really interesting vlog on Snapchat of my day, and you know, some lectures here and there explaining what I'm doing. Put out a little short video on Vietnamese coffee yesterday, and all of that kind of comes through my Snapchat. That's where I artistically express myself. Then of course I copy it all over into the Instagram feed as well, or not the Instagram feed, but the Instagram story. So you can also follow me on Instagram if that is your grand appeal. It's the exact same handle as Snapchat. And there's the DM feature, so you can DM me on Instagram just as easily as you can DM me on Snapchat, and I can reply there as well. I get less Instagram messages, so I've actually got an empty inbox there. I've replied to them all. So maybe that's actually the better way to reach me, even though Snapchat's more fun. But yeah, make sure that you follow me in those channels, because that is where I hang out every time that I'm not doing this. Okay. Last question. DJR Gold Knight on Twitter asks, I would like to get into esports psychology, and I was wondering how I should start. I already have my BA in psych, and I want to know where to go next. Doom. Okay. Simple. Go get a master's in psych, esports psych, sports psych. Let me start this over. Look for master's degree programs in sports psychology and exercise psychology and health promotion. That is what you should do. You should get a combined sports psychology, esports psychology degree. You should try to combine it with health policy or health promotion. The reason being, if you want a job, like you go and you apply for a job and you get a job and they pay you money and a salary, you need to have exercise psychology. You need to be in health promotion, because hospitals and pharmacies are starting to employ exercise psychology trainers the same way they would like hand out drugs. So you go to the doctor and the doctor writes you a prescription to exercise, and you go to an exercise psychologist and they fulfill it for you. You know, it's not like you take Prozac and you exercise. It's like you need not a drug. You need an exercise psychologist. So that is the direction that the world is heading. That's the direction the field should be heading. I think that people will be just getting their physical trainers, except the physical trainers should be exercise psychology trainers, because a large component of what you're doing in a gym is motivation. It's not about the actual training itself. People can figure that out on the internet. You can learn in 5 seconds what kind of routine you should be doing. You can literally just walk around and be healthy. The thing is getting people to walk around. That is what people pay gym trainers for. But they shouldn't be paying gym trainers for that. They should be paying exercise psychology trainers for that, because those are the specialists in motivation that you want to be working with. And I think that is where that should be heading. And certainly when I was graduating, I was looking at the internships and the programs that I would be getting in the actual work world, and that was what it was. Then, of course, you will have your degree in sports psychology as well. Congratulations. It's a very thoroughly uninteresting field in terms of my perspective. It's all just about high performance and helping people who have their life together and are really well off and are performing at a super high level get 1% better, which personally for me holds next to no interest, because it's not very fascinating for me to help somebody who is already amazing be slightly more amazing for a lot of money. I would much rather, that's why I'm doing this show, I would much rather deploy this on to the masses and use more exercise psychology or talk about sports psychology as a way of like fulfilling your own life as an amateur, as like not an elite competitor, and help everybody become elite in their own way. But yeah, so then you'll have a sports psychology degree, and that will allow you to then hopefully get your license for sports psychology training, which in the US comes from AASP, and in Finland comes from SUPY, the Finnish Suomen or, yeah, anyway. And Psykologinen liitto, Suomen, what does the U stand for? I don't know. Then I think it's Psykologinen liitto. But anyway, you do not need a license to train. You just can't call yourself the term that, you can't call yourself licensed. That's all. You can say you're a sports psychology trainer if you want. You just can't say you're a licensed sports psychology trainer. And then you go create your own company. There's no jobs. You don't go apply to be a sports psychology or an esports psychology trainer. There's no such thing as a job for that. There's 20 pro teams in the world in League of Legends. And maybe, like 7 to 10 Counter-Strike teams that have their stuff together enough to be consistent as an org throughout the years. And that's it. When you graduate in 2 years or like in 10 years, there'll probably be the same number of pro teams in North America. And if you look at traditional sports psychology is not even really hired at the pro level. Like maybe some athletes get sports psychology, but teams don't really hire sports psychology trainers. Maybe they'll do a boot camp or a workshop here and there. Maybe there's 1 or 2 that work for the International Olympic Committee. I've heard of one position at the NCAA level at like a really large school that was working with a whole bunch of different teams. Other than that, other than those like 21, 22 jobs, there are no other jobs. And it's not like the competition is going to drop, right? It's not like all of a sudden there's going to be no sports psychology trainers around vying for those positions. In fact, there's going to be more and more. So you're going to be competing with a larger and larger selection of people for the same number of jobs. So you have to start a company, and you have to be an entrepreneur, and you have to create your own brand, and you have to sell your own services, and you probably have to do in the corporate sector. You have to do a lot of stuff where you're like talking to companies and maybe helping CEOs become high performers and things like that. That's probably the path that you need to take if you want to do esports psychology and sports psychology. I would recommend mixing the two. I wouldn't recommend just focusing on esport. Although if you do, you can deploy that pretty well in the corporate sector as well, because like you are dealing with people who are sitting at their desk all day and high performing. So that's a pretty nice crossover. Yeah, actually, I would say that's even a better crossover than sport to corporate. So that is my recommendation. I just left the focus area of my camera. I better scoot back forward again. That is my recommendation, DJR. Get your master's degree in sport and exercise psychology so that you have employment. Then do an internship in exercise psychology while you're working on your brand and your company. Try to take as many electives about business as you can, about marketing and branding and business and finance, whatever it is that you need to start your own company. And try to make friends with people who seem super business savvy and who might want to do joint ventures with you, who can become a business partner and handle some of the business or legal end. If you go to Harvard, then hang out in the Harvard Law Library a lot. Find that legal buddy who wants to be a business partner and help structure all of these contracts and stuff like that. Some of the toughest stuff with starting my own business was writing the contracts when I would work with 2 teams in the same league. So I wanted to write a consultant contract that would give them peace of mind, protect myself, and then not break any laws, and then also not break any ethics like obligations, at the licensure level, because I wasn't licensed in the U.S. through AASP or anything like that. So it was tough, and I spent a lot of weeks at it, but I think I nailed it pretty well. But if I had a business partner who had done law, I'm pretty sure they could have whipped it out in about 5 minutes, and I would have moved on with my life. But anyway, those are my thoughts, and I hope they were helpful, and best of luck to you. All right, guys, that's the show for today. I'm not going to do any more advertisements. I'm not at all going to talk about my Snapchat. I'm not going to talk about my Instagram again. I'm not going to plug the Mac program again. I don't even know what those things are. Go back earlier in the show if you want to hear about them. They're not. Yeah, anyway. But I will now move on with closing the show. I'm not going to talk about Runtime, this really amazing meal replacement that I use. That is very delicious. It's where I get my protein nowadays. I don't even take protein powder anymore. I use this because I need the calories because I'm trying to gain. I want to be a bro. I want to be Tyler 1. I can't be Tyler 1. I'm not short enough. I mean, sorry, buddy. Yeah. But anyway, thanks again for coming out to the show. And I hope that you submit your question. And I will see you guys for episode 145.